Hey everyone, it's Tim. Welcome to Think Inclusive, the podcast for inclusionists. In this bonus episode, we're talking about our sponsor, Together Letters, a tool that helps people stay in touch with their friends, family, and communities. So wait, Tim, why are we talking about Together Letters on Think Inclusive? Well, Together Letters is a tool that we use for Think Inclusive patrons to stay in touch with each other. Together Letters is a simple email-based newsletter that lets you share updates with your group members on a regular basis. You can use it to stay up to date on what's going on with your friends' lives, share your own news and accomplishments, or just connect with people you care about. Together Letters is a great way to build stronger relationships and create a more inclusive community. In just a second, we'll hear from Adam Walker and Sanjay Park, the founders of Together Letters. They'll tell us about how they came up with the idea for Together Letters and how it's helping people connect with each other in new and meaningful ways, and how educators could possibly use Together Letters in their schools or to create online communities. Thanks for hanging out with us. And now, my interview with Adam Walker and Sanjay Park. Adam Walker and Sanjay Park, welcome to Think Inclusive.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So if you're listening to this, you are listening to a very special bonus episode of Think Inclusive. And I'm so happy to have my friends Adam and Sanjay on to talk about Together Letters, because if you have listened to Think Inclusive over the last few months, you'll recognize that name, Together Letters, because Together Letters is a sponsor of the podcast. And I learned about Together Letters because I don't know exactly how. Adam, I think you told me about it.
I'm in the house. Anybody I talk to, it's like, hey, I'm Adam. It's nice to meet you. Have you heard of togetherletters.com? So that's the order of things.
And he even throws in the .com because he likes to do the, like 90s roll of
listen,
website.
I don't want him to have to Google it when you can go straight there. Why? I don't want people to have to go to Google. It's two steps. Going to Google is step one, and then togetherletters.com is step two. No, just go straight to the website.
But you've seen people do this. They type togetherletters.com into Google or whatever.com into Google before they go to the site instead of just going to the bar. So you actually haven't saved them anything. You just made them type more.
Not all of them do that.
Almost all of them do.
Oh, well, you could ask Siri, right? You could use, any sort of like voice to text.
See?
Yeah.
You could say togetherletters.com and then it would type it.
See? Perfect.
Let's
do that. You could, but like looking at our website through text to voice, that's not going to be that great. You're actually going to want to go to the site.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Fair point.
Okay. Well, I wanted to have you on because I wanted y'all to tell the story about Together Letters.
Okay.
And I know a little bit about it, but the people listening probably don't. So
well, maybe we should start with like what Together Letters is and why people might use it, and then tell the story. Does that work? Okay, can we do that?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Sanjay, do you want to jump in, or you want me to start here?
You start.
All right. So I'll start with why people might use Together Letters. So I personally, why I use it. So I'm burned out on Facebook and LinkedIn, and honestly, just kind of social media in general. But I still have people that I want to connect with on a regular basis. And so Together Letters is my way of doing that. So I've got a group of people that I want to stay in touch with, say once a month or so. And once a month, I get an email from Together Letters and it says, hey, what's your update for this month? And I click a button, I give a quick update. And then 2 days later, I get an email that summarizes everybody's update from that email list. And so it's this kind of collaborative mass email newsletter. And so I'm able to sort of keep up with everybody without having to be on some other social media network that they may or may not be active on. So basically, if anybody's able to use email, they're able to keep up with their community via Together Letters. So that's kind of the why, at least for me personally. I think probably for Sanjay too. And so the how, is kind of what I described. It's this collaborative newsletter where you can stay in touch with a group using nothing but email, and you don't even have to have a login. Like you don't even have to have a password, which makes it just super simple to use. So I use it for staying in touch with book clubs, with my family and extended family. So I've got like one for my immediate family, and then one for like aunts and uncles and cousins. I use it to stay in touch with like old classmates from high school that I actually care about how they're doing versus the ones that are on Facebook that I don't care about. Sorry if you're listening to this. And it's been great. It's been great. So Sanjay, what did I miss?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things that are important to point out. When we built and designed Together Letters, it was thinking about how to maintain those connections in a way that doesn't increase your load as well. So one of the things that we did with this email newsletter is there is no way to do a reply all. We have all been in those reply all hells that occur when somebody sends out the mass email, right? Inevitably you're on one and like somebody replies all and says, take me off this list. And then that goes out to everybody. And then that just snowballs, right? So with Together Letters, you cannot do a reply all. It is not possible. But what you can do is click on somebody's update and reply just to them with their update quoted so that you can actually build that one-on-one relationship, which is really kind of the crux of what we're trying to do with Together Letters.
Hold up.
You didn't even know. You didn't even know.
You know, right?
It's a feature. It's not a new feature, but it's a new feature for you, Tim. We're announcing it today. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah. So if you click on somebody's name, Tim, in that email, the newsletter email, it will actually open up a new email addressed to that person, and it will have their update quoted so that you can actually then reply back just to them. Yeah.
And it improves communication quite a bit. It's great.
Yeah, it's
my mind is literally
it's a little bit
right
it was a bit of work to actually make that all happen. Like if you look at the code, the HTML, it's messy, but it all works.
Yeah.
But we haven't really publicized that. It's almost one of those features that you just kind of stumble upon. If you hover over somebody's name, you're like, hey, what does this do? You know, when you click on it.
Yeah.
And we kind of like it that way, but we probably will make it more obvious in the future. But really kind of the point of all this is to build community and keep groups together. So the challenge that we see with things like Slack or even just social media in general is that it's really incumbent upon the individual users to say something and push something out there. And a lot of times you just don't have anything to say and you just sit there, and a lot of people just sit there in lurker mode. Whereas this is different. We actively push an email to you and say, hey, it's time to give your update. Give your update. And list owners, group owners have the option to not send out the newsletter to people who don't participate. And we've seen that be useful in some groups to encourage people to actually say something, even if it's a non-update update, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen it in some of my groups where people are like, hey, I don't have anything to update, but I'm making sure I supply something so that I make sure and I get the newsletter because they want to read everybody else's newsletter or update. And I think that's an important feature because it tells you that this person actually cares. They're actually out there reading, and they're actively engaged with that whole process, even when they don't have an update. So like Adam, I use this across a number of different groups, alumni groups, friends, people I went to business school with, whatever it is. And it really does keep people in touch in a way that, if you look at Facebook or something like that, if they were doing these same updates there's a very high likelihood that I probably would never see those updates because they're just in this stream of garbage versus like, hey, this is a group I know. This is like my ex group that I know all of these people. And then all of those updates kind of make sense with one another in that email.
And related to that, like one more use case too, that I didn't mention that I'd like to, it's great for like internal company or internal department newsletters, like to know what everybody's actively working on. Like, so I use this for a nonprofit board that I'm on. And so once a month, it's like, I get the Together letter and it's like, okay, what have you done for this nonprofit for this month? And I give a quick update. I've done this, and this. And then everybody else does that. And it's like, oh, now I see what people are working on and I can do this. And hey, I can help with that. Let me collaborate with you over here. So it improves collaboration and gets us kind of out of our silos within an organization as well.
And I think we've missed actually one of the most important features of Together Letters is the fact that these updates and these newsletters are never published to the internet. So they are not publicly available anywhere. They are only available via email. And for a lot of people, and I've seen this, a lot of people will share things in a Together Letters group that they would never share anywhere else on social media.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you this level of like privacy and like just that community that does not exist in other places. I mean, obviously we have access to those updates on our back end. We're soon actually going to be rolling out an update that gives group owners the option to delete out old updates. So once we send the email, we will actually delete them out of our database and we will not have access to them any longer. And this is not like just recently there was a thing about Twitter where deleted tweets were now reappearing. Like, we're not going to be doing that. We're not just going to be marking things deleted and not show them to people. We are actually going to delete them because we don't need to hold on to that then, right? Like, that's just not what we do.
Do group owners have the option to look back at previous
Not
updates?
Currently, no.
Currently, they do not.
You just have to search your email right now. Essentially,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so if you use Gmail, you're good. Just archive everything. But otherwise, right.
One of the things that we've talked about and we don't have right now is that when you're providing an update, to maybe provide your previous update to that same group as like a, hey, last time you said this, just so that it reminds you like what you talked about. I have this problem with, when you do multiple groups, like, wait, what did I say in which group?
I have that same problem all the time. Yeah.
So this is the great thing about us dog fooding and using our own product is we see these problems too. And we're trying to solve these problems as well.
Yeah. And we should also mention, like, while we're talking about the whole thing, like groups of 10 or less are free forever. So, I mean, if you've got like 5 people you just want to stay in touch with, like there's no cost, which is nice. I mean, even after that, like to get a group above 10, it's $60 for the year. So it's not exactly expensive either.
$5 a month. Yeah.
And and if you're listening, please go to togetherletters.com and sign up for a free group. Check it out. And so I was thinking about, like, for people who are listening, they're mostly educators. So school teachers, principals, maybe some administrator or, state education leader. I think that this could be potentially very powerful for school teams or grade level teams.
It'd be amazing.
Because again, what you said about Slack or, other, or like Microsoft Teams or anything like that is a platform based, you have to get on the platform. You have to search through, you have to curate, you have to figure out what's what. I created a Slack group for podcasters to, network, right? People don't know how to use Slack.
It's remarkable. I mean, I'm in a Slack community online for marketers, and it's got thousands of people in it, and no one posts. And it's just like, I don't even know what's happening here. And so, I mean, to your point, like, but if you're asked, if you're prompted, it really, really helps. And like, okay, then you can be thoughtful. Like, what do I need to share? What did I do this month? What's pertinent here?
And with the groups that you can create on Together Letters, you can set the update frequency, right? You can do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So you can get the cadence that you want or need with that particular group. To your example, Tim, if it was educators, I would say like somebody that's teaching, whatever grade, 9th grade, let's say, you should probably find other 9th grade teachers, not just in your school, but in other schools that you're friendly with. And maybe once a week or once every other week, just share what's been going right, what's been going wrong in teaching in your classes. And that might help everybody become better and think about ways, first of all, to help this person, but also take those good lessons and be like, oh, maybe I should implement this. It worked for XYZ. And if I implement it and it doesn't work for me, maybe I now know who I should talk to about, like, what did I do wrong in implementing this? How did you do it differently?
Well, and then like also departments within, like you said, Tim, like departments within schools. I mean, put everybody in a department on one Together letter and do a weekly or bi-weekly, check-in and what's going on. And that way you've got it and it's always there.
Principals of schools, right? Like they probably don't get to talk to one another, but just a check-in and having that support system of somebody else that understands the situation that you're in and is dealing with the same types of challenges, and being able to get that little visibility into the things that are going right and wrong with what they're doing helps you just be better.
Yeah.
So speaking of social media, because Adam, you brought it up at the beginning, feeling burnt out. Are y'all on everything?
Like, what do you define as on? I mean, like, do I have a Facebook account? Yes. Do I check that Facebook account maybe twice a month? Do I actually look through the actual feed and like see what's happening with the people that I'm friends with? Like once every month or two. So like, it depends on how you define it, right? Like I'm on Instagram a decent amount, like every couple of days, because it's more interesting and it's honestly less stressful to be on. I find TikTok to be particularly entertaining. So I'm on TikTok probably every day. I'm not on Twitter at all because it's just a disaster right now. But I mean, ultimately, like I find myself wanting to engage on my terms rather than on the terms or the structure of the platforms. And I don't know. I just got burned out on some of those. So, and then LinkedIn, I mean, I should be on LinkedIn, but I'm I'm not.
Yeah, I think I chose wrong in the early days. I went all in on Twitter. I built up a pretty decent following on Twitter, and that was my main social media platform. Last year, I quit. I don't post on Twitter anymore. I don't log in. The app is no longer on my phone. I am out, and I have not replaced it really with anything. Yeah, I've got a LinkedIn account. I've got Facebook. I've got Instagram. But if you look at how much I look at any of those on a weekly or monthly basis, it's basically none. I tried to post on LinkedIn, but I don't know. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
And I think because of everything that's happened on Twitter, I think I've broken the habit. And social media just does not have the allure for me anymore. And I'm spending my time getting other stuff done now.
Maybe that's good. Maybe breaking the habit's good,
Yeah.
So I do find like I'd rather spend my time on like Substack, writing or creating thoughtful things there rather than doom scrolling on Facebook. I do feel like there are good alternatives, So
yeah. I think I'm still on everything, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Those are my the four. But I think that even when I first started, it was a means to an end.
Yeah.
For networking and professional learning, especially as a teacher. So like even and I'm no longer a classroom teacher, but when I was looking for hashtags and I was looking for people doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, and then coalescing around, sharing resources and stuff. And that still happens, so it is still a toxic place, social media, but I think you have to throttle it.
Yeah.
The one thing as a contrast, Together Letters to social media, and we talked about it a little bit, is I spend a good amount of time when I'm on social media curating.
Yep.
So what I'll do is I'll go through my Facebook feed and be like, unfollow, 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 unfollow.
I've done that too.
Like, do I want to? Okay, I'll leave. Okay, they're fine. Unfollow. Whereas in this particular situation, you have a group and you always want their updates because you have chosen to be in that
exactly
group.
Yeah. And then to me, like, that's the benefit is like, if you're thoughtful and you say, okay, who are the 15 people, who are the 5 people, whatever, that I genuinely want to connect with on a whatever basis, weekly, monthly, whatever. Like it's just a very different experience than who can I randomly connect with on Facebook and what stranger can I randomly like their thing on Instagram or Reels or whatever. It's just different. There's a different level of value there.
It feels like a more authentic connection and strengthening an authentic connection that could actually lead to something more useful, right? The random person that you can like or whatever, like you're never gonna meet that person. Like it's a very unlikely.
I mean, unless you're getting some good hacks, because there's some good hacks on social. There's some really dumb ones, but there's some good hacks on there. I'm just saying there are some good ones. So
I've used some good hacks from some of those too. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, any additional updates to Together Letters or anything that's going forward that's happening that people may want to know about?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of things kind of in the works and in the plans. There's some updates and fixes that we're trying to implement. We've talked about doing some things that we think would help a lot of people. So one of the things that's on the list that we haven't gotten to yet is integrating Together Letters with Zapier and making it so that people then can use Together Letters to automatically create groups for whatever networks that they're building, right? So people can kind of opt in and things like that. We've also talked about creating Together Letters groups where it's almost closer to social media, where it's a little voyeuristic, where you could actually have people that are read only. So you could have a segment of folks that are writers and also receive the newsletter, but then others that only read what is published into that newsletter. And we think there might be some value for that for groups within companies, so that, XYZ department is really trying to keep themselves connected to each other, but other folks want to actually see and kind of peer behind the curtain to see what's happening within that group. But it might be useful for, just groups of people that, are doing whatever, that other people are interested in what they're publishing and talking about internally. So those are a couple of features that we're talking about. And like the Zapier one is probably much more likely. The read-only one, we're still kind of debating, but these things are on the horizon.
And we're also talking about trying to figure out pushing like updates to or requests for updates to text message maybe as well to make that request process a little easier. So that's on the horizon at some point. So we'll see.
Fantastic. All right. Well, anything else you want to plug while you're here? I know that you have another podcast, Tech Talk Y'all, Edgewise. Anything else?
Well, I mean, Tech Talk Y'all is just the funniest tech news podcast in the land. So I think everybody should obviously go subscribe right. If you want to keep up with tech news and at least occasionally about AI and all that insanity, that's where to go, really. That's all.
And we actually, with Tech Talk Y'all, we just recently launched a subscriber level as well.
We did.
And we're starting to publish mini podcast episodes for subscribers only. But you don't have to do that to listen to our normal weekly stuff that we do, where we do a roundup of the news. So that podcast is going on. Is it 6 years now? I think it's 6 years.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 years. Yeah,
that we've been doing that podcast. So
40 episodes.
If you are wondering what happened or was happening in tech news 6 years ago, you can go back and listen to the early episodes.
You can find out.
There are some of our diehard listeners who consider themselves OG listeners, and they've listened to every single episode since the first one. I cannot even remember what we recorded about last week, but these listeners remember all of it. So it's pretty impressive. And then if you're looking for help with doing a podcast, we do have Edgewise Media. So edgewise.media is our website. And you can go there and we can help you out with anything that you might need if you're trying to launch a podcast. So soup to nuts, as much or as little as you need to do this. As you can tell, we love podcasts. We love talking randomly to folks all day long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, Adam Walker, Sanjay Parekh, thank you so much for being on Think Inclusive, and go sign up for your free Together Letters account, y'all. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be around next week in your feed for more Think Inclusive. Have a great week, and remember, inclusion always works.